Hello, everybody. Welcome to the football experience. Caleb, the semi-finals are over. It's a bit of a somber mood here, or sombre. I don't know. We'll get into
Sure,
it.
that's not just sleep deprivation.
A little
The
bit
late
of
night pod. I've got the early morning pod.
yeah, a little bit of that as well. I've been getting like 6 hours of sleep lately, but yeah, it's not bueno. It's nothing to do with the World Cup though. It's just I don't know. I'm just not feeling tired in the evening for whatever reason. Maybe it's because it's winter. Like around 4:30, it's already complete darkness, and maybe that's screwing with my internal clock or something. Anyway, let's talk about let's talk about football. That was the introduction, folks. We'll start obviously chronological order. Argentina versus Croatia. I feel like I'm going to talk a lot about Croatia's mistakes rather than praising Argentina. Because I think that's more, as obviously a Croatia fan, that's more what I've focused on. I think that's what you tend to focus on when you're a fan watching your team. You tend to focus on the mistakes of your team rather than the good things that the other team was doing. So I'll allow you to take the floor on that. But I will start. I'm gonna start with the referee, and this isn't me putting blame on the referee. It's just something that they talked about here. And did you basically know that this referee was injured prior to this game? And he was like recovering from an injury.
It was Daniele Osato, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The Italian.
Yeah.
It was the ref from memory, yeah.
So-
I didn't know that.
Yeah, because I've said it a couple of pods on the pundit panel here. They have a former referee who talks about like VAR and the ref in all the games so far, like whether decisions were right or wrong and whatnot. And he was basically saying that because of his injury and him carrying this injury, he was basically it didn't allow him to referee the game properly because he was trying to, I guess, save his steps by taking a direct path to the ball rather than having a skewed view of the ball, so having angles and whatnot. Which look, if this was a game where I was a neutral, I'll be like, this is pretty interesting. Like I've never actually thought about that. Like, and I guess I've never been to refereeing school or whatnot, and it's probably something that they teach you, that if the ball's in certain positions or areas of the pitch, then you yourself need to be on a certain angle to the ball to have the best viewing, not experience angle, I suppose. So.
They also teach you, like, not only that, but you have to be at the right angle so you can still see your assistant, especially at the amateur game, because you need to be able to see their flagger for anything like that.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
So basically, because I remember you did refereeing at junior level.
Yeah.
So you know some of this stuff, but basically the guy here was saying that because of his injury, he was not taking the angles that he was supposed to because he was trying to take the direct route to the ball. But even when he was taking the direct route to the ball, he was still 20 meters, 25 meters behind certain incidents. And I want to touch on some of them, obviously. And like one of them was basically one of the stats of the game, and like that I saw, it's like everything was pretty much like even, I guess, except for shots on goal. But like possession was like, I think we actually controlled possession. It was like they do this new possession where it's like the team possession and then like
in contest.
Contest. So I think like we had team possession 50%, in contest was like 12, and then Argentina had like 30 or something ish percent. And when I saw that, and then when I looked, and it's like everything's sort of like even. And then when I saw like the tackles or fouls, it's like Argentina had like double what we had. I think they had like 15 or 16. We only made 8 fouls. It's like, okay, there's obviously something there where when we're either playing too slowly, or we're not playing with enough, I guess, vigor or strength to actually like stop play. Because like I think in any game of football, if a team is like if they're constantly fouling you when you're in possession, it obviously breaks up the way you want to play. And I think that's telling of how we performed as a team, especially after the penalty. But like there was obviously a couple of incidents where it's like this, going back to the referee, this shouldn't be like, how is this not at least a yellow? I think there was that one challenge, I think in the 8th minute, I think Rodrigo made on Kovacic where he went sliding in on the touchline. And it's like, this is sort of dangerous. At least they didn't show a replay of it, but it's like, but at least in real time, it's like, well, how is this not being cautioned at all? Like, I know the referee waved advantage, but even so, like, and also that, like, there was like 3 or 4 breakaway runs by Kovacic where they went unpunished without any yellow cards. And it's like, how is this going unpunished? But that's also telling as well, like, we never did that. We never tried, if they tried to sort of break through our lines, we never tried to break up that play and try to, like, you know, cop a yellow to stop them breaking the lines, which they were more than comfortable doing. So that's something on us that we need to look at. Going on to obviously one of the most I'd say controversial, because it's a 50. It's almost like a 50-50 split. But the penalty, I'll get your quick take on it. Do you think it was a penalty or not?
I don't think it was a penalty, but I can see, and they are given as penalties. So I don't think it's like a huge amount to complain about, given the way that the games are refereed. But in my opinion, and I've always said this, I don't think that's a penalty, because I don't think Alvarez has the ball under control. So the obstruction afterwards, for me, is just incidental contact, because Lovren's getting to that ball before Alvarez, and therefore I don't think any contact from there on they're running into each other. I know people have suggested Livakovic put his leg out. I think his leg was already there. Maybe, and I know a lot of referees say this, the onus is on the goalkeeper then to get out the way once the ball's gone. So that's why I can see as well 50-50. So, look, it is a 50-50 decision. It went in Argentina's favour for me. But given the way games are refereed, I think penalty. Given the way I want them to be refereed, no penalty for me.
Yeah, see, the thing is, the way that it was explained here was that, without any bias, the referee was saying that, firstly, Daniel Osato didn't have the correct positioning on the pitch. So I think he was directly in line behind Alvarez instead of being on a 45-degree angle to it. So he could have seen, so he should have been off center, and he was basically right directly behind him. So obviously his vision of it doesn't show the whole picture, but which is then something that we should be bringing VAR in for. Like, why, if we have VAR, why is it not being used for decisions like that? But then,
it is being used, but they're just not.
But why is it?
They haven't deemed it clear and obvious.
But why is it then? Why is it then being used for decisions like Szczesny's hand touching Messi's face? Like, and this isn't going to go down the line of I'm not obviously heading into.
You're getting close to bitter Croatian.
No, I'm not.
Very close to
I'm not. But also, like, with that, he was saying that as a goalkeeper, the goalkeeper's natural, I guess, positioning when defending, like, those bouncing balls is generally to make this sort of X shape and try to make yourself as big as possible. So you put your arms out, you put your legs out. And
okay, can I before you go on, can I stop you, because this is an internal battle. It's maybe a side note, but I think we've brought it up a few times on the pod about attacking players now getting penalized for shielding the ball, and like how many players are throwing themselves down when they've got contact to their chest or face now. What I will say is, like, I don't know. I have this internal battle whether that's right or wrong. So maybe like the rule, I don't agree with the rule, but I don't like it because I feel like that's what you're meant to do as an attacking player. But maybe the rule exists to eliminate attacking players doing that, and they have to find a new way to be able to shield the ball rather than fling their hands up at a head height. So maybe with that goalkeeping one, the rule is in place so that goalkeepers can't just spread themselves and take up big ground so that they can like take up as much space as possible, and make it harder for attackers. So while my eyes don't like that rule when I see it, maybe it exists to eliminate that sort of behavior. You know what I'm saying?
Possibly, but even so, like with that,
it is a bit of an unfair advantage.
Yeah.
I'm going to make myself as big as possible, and if you run into me, it's your fault.
Yeah, but then also like to add on to that, Livakovic's foot was planted. Yes, like we're talking about like maybe like half a second, max a second before Alvarez actually makes contact into him.
Like taking a charge in the NBA.
Did
he get to the spot first?
Yeah, and it looks like Livakovic actually did get to the spot first, and he had his. He didn't stick out his leg and try to take him out. Like if you look at like different angles of it, I'm not sure how many angles they showed over in Australia or even worldwide for that matter. But here they went deep into it. But if you see it like all of the momentum is Alvarez going into Livakovic and Livakovic's foot being flung back. Like if it's Livakovic taking out Alvarez, there's not going to be that kind of movement.
Let's get this over and done with now.
Yeah, look, moving on though, that decision...
No. Like, you can continue. But the Theo Hernandez one in the France-Morocco game. I know there was a big deal about Boufal's yellow card, and that definitely wasn't a yellow card. But because these are similar sort of situations, so let's get the opinion out now, and we'll do all refereeing stuff, get it out of the way.
Well, I don't know how that one's actually similar because isn't Theo Hernandez sliding in?
For me, Theo does that chop with the outside of his foot to get the ball, and he chops it back in the other direction. But in doing that, he loses his footing, which takes him into Boufal. So for me, again, my thinking on that is it shouldn't have been a free kick either way, but it's just incidental contact because Boufal never has control of the ball. That's Theo Hernandez's ball after that, but he slips and goes into Boufal. So for me, it's just sort of incidental.
I need to see that one again and the whole incident because they only showed it of after he lost his footing, so him just sliding in. So when they showed the replay of it, at least. So I would need to see the whole action, I guess, to make. But when they showed the replay of it, if they did cut it down, it looked a little bit dangerous as well. I couldn't
believe Boufal got.
Yeah, I can't believe he got carded for that because Boufal didn't even make a challenge on him really. It was Theo Hernandez going into Boufal, but anyway, back to the Croatia game. Yeah, so there's a big split. I've seen a lot of professionals say it wasn't a penalty. I've seen some say it was. It looks like it's 50-50 amongst the general public, not just obviously.
Well,
go on.
What I've heard is it's probably more on the penalty side, but there are a lot of Messi fans in the world to fuel your conspiracy a little bit.
Look, I'm not, but we've talked about the inconsistencies of refereeing and VAR, and when there's incidental ones being given or being at least checked. How is this one not being checked? Because it didn't even come up that the notification of it being checked at all. So did they even bother checking it? That's the other question, because generally they put the little notification that it's being checked. This was no, it's a penalty. That's it. So
when you got Messi standing on the ball on the spot, the anticipation, we're not checking that. Come on.
But anyway,
Leo Messi's got the ball.
That decision actually took the. I wouldn't say it took the wind out of our sails because it wasn't we were attacking and we were bombarding them. But it took away our game plan, and it seemed like after that we didn't have a plan B. And not only that, I think it hit us it looked like it hit us psychologically really hard. And then to top that off, we copped. you know it's not your day when you're copying a goal like the second one where it's a breakaway and then 2 or 3 players try to clear it and it's being like pinballed between them. I think Juranovic does. I think he gets. I'm not sure if he got 1 touch or 2 touches onto it, and then like it hits Alvarez, and then it falls back into Alvarez's running line perfectly, and then because of that, Sosa is running back, and he gets taken the wrong way, and he gets a touch onto it, and he touches it back into Alvarez, and then Alvarez knocks it back perfectly into his right. It's like, you know it's not your day when something like that goes. And then to top it off, like while we're on the subject of knowing it's not your day, in the 85th minute, I know it was 3-0, but like when Lovren is missing from 2-3 yards out, like that, the headed on corner, it's like you know it's not your day when you can't even put those balls in the back of the net when it's like two yards out from goal. But yeah, like it seemed like we didn't have a plan B, especially after the second goal went in. Maybe Dalic should have went the Louis van Gaal route and just put on Petkovic and Levaia straight at halftime and just went the 2 big men up front and try to bombard them. Brozovic gets taken off because it looks like he might have re-injured himself, and he was going into the tournament probably like 80%, maybe 70%. So he got taken off after 60 minutes, which means we had to readjust our midfield, and we lost that midfield trio.
Did Brozovic play every minute of the back-to-back?
I think so.
Extra time penalties? My God.
I think so. And look, maybe this as well, like the fact that I know Argentina played 120 minutes in their previous game, but we played 240 minutes going into this game. Maybe that was just like similar to how we spoke about Morocco. Like maybe it's just that final straw that breaks the camel's back. Like we're running on fumes here pretty much. And it seemed, even for those 30 minutes, we did seem slower than what we were against Brazil. And that, you'll go into it, that might have been because Argentina's game plan countered ours. So, like I said, I focused more on the lack of, or the mistakes that we made. But yeah, it's a shame that we dropped our heads. We didn't drop our heads not necessarily after the penalty, but after the second goal, we definitely dropped our heads. That was a bit of a kick in the nuts, and not because like there was anything egregious about it. It's just like that you need an element of luck for that kind of goal to fall.
Well, to that point on the second goal, that was the end of the game. I thought after 1 goal, we'd already seen Croatia come back against Brazil from 1 goal in much less time. So I thought they were probably still processing it, just coming to grips with it by the time they get hit with the second one. And like you say, the fortune that has to go into that second goal as well. But fair play to Alvarez as well. He drives at the heart of the defense and puts that pressure on. And when you put that pressure on, ask those questions, who knows? Maybe Croatia aren't able to answer it, and in that instance, both fullbacks aren't able to answer the question. So, and to your point about breaking up the game, that second goal was definitely the one where if you have to break up the game.
We actually did. We fouled Messi, but
you fouled Messi, but he got the ball away.
Yeah, he called advantage. Oh, also, I do want to mention, after we praised Lovren and Guardiola, there was a miscommunication for that first goal where Guardiola pushes forward with the other two, with the two fullbacks, but Lovren is falling back when the ball is being played over. If either of those were in sync, so like either Guardiola says, "Okay, I'll fall back with you," or Lovren's like, "All right, I've got to push up with the other 3," which is the correct decision because you have 3 players pushing up front. That he's either offside or Guardiola is there to help Lovren out. So there's a miscommunication there and a lapse in concentration, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. And there's a little like counter to that in that before that game, before that pass, I was watching the game and thinking, and I'll start. In fact, I'll start from the start, and then I'll get to that. But so basically, like you started the whole your breakdown of what you saw in this game with. Look, I'm going to start with Croatia's mistakes and leave the praising of Argentina, to someone else. And I think that's indicative of the whole tournament. Like, there's not much praise being given out for Argentina that I've heard from really anywhere. Not for Argentina. For Messi, more than enough praise. A little bit. Look, I mean, it is a big moment. It's his last World Cup, and he's all the way at this point. But it gets a little bit sickening at times. It's just like, oh man, it's like eating something just so sweet that it's like sickly sweet. That's what it's like consuming Messi at this World Cup. The amount of praise being lavished on him. But I mean that assist for the third goal, which we haven't even talked about, is obviously a great World Cup moment. And when you contextualize that with probably defender of the tournament that he's doing it to. I mean, Guardiola did look 20 in this game, so there's absolutely no need to go over the top. It's kind of like it's like Bukayo Saka missing the penalty at such a ripe age. It's like, what do you expect, man? He's such a young guy. This is a semi-final for a 20-year-old.
This is a learning moment, and I'm curious as to whether Guardiola has actually ever come up against Messi. I don't think he has. For Dinamo or for Leipzig, I don't think he's ever played against him.
Yeah, I'd hesitate to say no. And I never heard it brought up in commentary or anything like that. So, yeah, that's a tough spot to be left in, especially when Messi's picking his moments. And I guess in this tournament, the big thing for Messi, just to touch on that, is he has justified his allowance to walk. Because, like, I always feel a little bit uneasy when a team has to play with 10 players. But look, fair play to Messi when he's picked his moments, he's maximised his moments. You think of the Mexico game, just out of nowhere, he wasn't having a particularly good game. Goal. Netherlands, he barely touched the ball. And I think in this game, and to contrast this to Neymar, I think Messi did his thing, walked around, checked out the landscape of the game, checked out where he could influence the game, did his thing for probably 15, 20 minutes. And then I think Luka Modric was starting to insert himself into the game, and then Messi said no. And then he started dropping a little bit deeper to get the ball, started dictating the play a little bit more, getting on the ball a little bit more. And I think the game, I wouldn't say changed from there, and I'll touch on that in a minute, but I think once the Argentine players start to see Messi insert himself into the game, I think they probably have more confidence. And they just start to say, all right, we got this guy, we got the quality. We can take our time here and we can unlock the door where we need to. So I don't know. I do believe in that sort of psychological effect that Messi has on this team. It's even been brought out about the conversations Scaloni had with the team, displaying sort of the game plan, which is Messi's our best player. Do we all agree with that? Yes. Are we all going to work as hard as we can for this guy? Yes. And you can see that in Argentina. That's what their whole team spirit is built on. They want to be the soldiers for Messi's Maradona 86 moment, and they're right there now. They're right on the cusp of doing that. So I think in that, for being able to do that, for being able to come up, Scaloni with the game plan, and on the game itself, I don't know if Scaloni's game plan worked in this game. Because like you say, I think you put it perfectly. The first goal, we don't know, 50-50 penalty. Also, there's question marks of, was it a corner for Perisic before Argentina go up the other end?
Yeah, it was. But it's similar to, if it was a foul, maybe it would have been brought back. But it's the whole but then it probably wouldn't have been because, that whole argument where like if the team has enough time to reset the midfield and defense, then they don't bring it back if a goal occurs out of the next instance of play. So I have no gripes with that argument, but it seemed like that might have been like a precursor for the lapse of concentration, because there was like 3 or 4 players arguing that it was a corner. It's like it's not a corner. Go back into position and wake up.
Yeah, you know what? Side note from what I was talking about in the game, but We were speculating whether it would be Argentina to sort of get a little bit raggedy to sort of play on that emotion in this game. It actually looked a bit more like it was Croatia playing on the emotion a little bit more, and Argentina were pretty ice cool in this game, I thought. So I think Argentina deserve to be praised for many things in this World Cup. Yeah, they're not the swashbuckling team that I guess we inherently want to see win a World Cup. We want this legendary team that are able to give us these moments of magic on the way to winning a World Cup. That just doesn't happen all that often. World Cup champions, I mean, we'll have that Messi moment now, so we have our moment. I think like maybe you think Spain in 2010, like what was Spain's moments? You don't really think of anything until Iniesta's goal
Yeah.
in the final, really. So you think even Germany, obviously Germany's moment 7-1 against Brazil, but that's as much down to Brazil as it was Germany in 2014. So, yeah, I think we expect maybe a little bit too much and we don't recognize that this is, while not being an absolutely star-studded littered team like Brazil, this is a hell of a solid team with not many weaknesses. A manager who shows he's willing to change it up depending on the game and the tactics of the opposition, change game plan, change system, has the players to be able to change system. And then has the ability to pick the wrong team, but then quickly adjust for it, like we saw after the Saudi Arabia game. And then, I don't know, they've just built their way into this tournament. They've done what's asked. And I do think, to your point about the meme we were talking about before we went on, I think Saudi Arabia have could take as much praise for this run as anyone else because it showed Scaloni quickly that your team's wrong. Get that right, and then it put everyone in Argentina on edge well, not on edge, but it was like you can't make any more mistakes now. So there was no lapses. Whereas when we touch on the French, I think that sort of hurt them that they qualified earlier because I think, and to directly contrast this, and I guess I'll ask you this question before we touch on just the rest of what it means and whatnot. But like, there's all the Argentina. It's like, oh, Argentina are in the final. How are they in the final? Do they really deserve? Are they that good a team? Why aren't we asking the same questions about the French on the other side? I've been bitterly disappointed in what France have produced in the knockout stages of this tournament. Yep, they're in the final, so how can I criticize them that much? But I think they've been really disappointing on the other side, and Argentina are the ones copping all the flack. But I think Argentina have been really solid, and then Messi's inserted moments of magic, and Alvarez, to be fair, has given them so much as well. And just finally on the game, to the first goal as well, because I wanted to touch on this. In getting his team right for Scaloni, what that involved was finding out that he needed both Enzo Fernandez and Julian Alvarez in this team. Because they're the guys, and I remember thinking in midfield early in this game, I remember thinking Enzo Fernandez, when he wants to get the ball and the times where he always looks forward. He always wants to play forward. But who in Argentina wants to get the ball going forward? I don't even think it's really Lautaro's game. It's definitely not Messi's game. They were using McAllister and DePaul on the wings, so they weren't really. They're not going to look to. But the guy who does eventually for the goal capitalize on one mistake from the Croatian defense is Julian Alvarez, and I was thinking he's got to have a target man. He's got to have someone who wants to break the lines and get in behind there. And he finally had it from Alvarez, and Enzo delivers that ball on time, and they get a penalty out of it. So Enzo has just changed the whole tempo of the team. He's allowed them to go quicker, and so has Julian Alvarez in the movements and the running he does for Messi, as well as obviously DePaul's running for Messi as well. The whole team really running for Messi.
You know what the other thing, or I guess the praiseful thing, is that Argentina noticed that Brazil, their front three, didn't pressure our back line or our midfield at all. Like, there was moments where when we had the ball in possession, we had to move it quickly around our back line, but there was always like 2 or 3 players always chasing the ball and putting pressure on us, which didn't happen in the Brazil game. So that's also another thing that Scaloni got right.
Yeah, and to the point of the game, like before these freak incidents happen with obviously, well, it's not a freak incident, it's a mistake, and then it's good play by Argentina to get the penalty. And the second goal is a bit freaky. But before that, why I say I don't know if Scaloni got got it right tactically was because I thought Croatia were probably the better team going into that little
Yeah.
period where they concede 2 goals. Not by much, and not by enough to say they were
It was
dominating the game or
even.
anything like
It was
that.
controlled.
Yeah. But Argentina made it a game plan to allow Croatia to have the ball, I thought. They did those moments of pressing when they kind of like Croatia's game plan a little bit against Brazil, in fact. It was pick your moments to go high and press, but for the most part, if they have the ball under control in the middle third, let's just drop back and we'll allow them to have more of the ball. And I thought we saw that bear out. And there was he went for sort of a chemistry or a characteristic selection of the team in terms of putting McAllister and DePaul either side of Enzo and Paredes in this game. So it was like essentially 4 central midfielders across the midfield. But he still went with the 4-4-2 shape. So I guess the characteristics allow you to beef up the middle of the park, which obviously you want to combat Croatia in there. But at the same time, the shape kind of allowed Croatia to have a 3v2 in the middle of the park. So I guess he was sort of hedging between the two. It's like, all right, you'll be ready to go and help on the midfield 3, but you can also go and stop Juranovic or Sosa driving forward with the ball, which was obviously an outlet for them against Brazil as well. So I wouldn't say he definitely didn't get it wrong because, like I said, Croatia were dominating the game, but I don't know if he got it right because I think if Croatia obviously don't have that 10-minute spell or even the second goal, even if it just remains at the first goal, I still think they're well in that game and we could see something different play out. But yeah, I thought his idea was right to get more central midfielders in there. The shape maybe allow Croatia to dictate it a little bit, but maybe the game plan as we see how the 2 goals are scored was never to try and control this game, rather let Croatia have it and we'll hit them on the counter, which kind of... And for the first goal as well, more about freak incidents. Remember, Otamendi's trying to play a ball between the lines and Modric gets a toe on it and it breaks perfectly for Enzo Fernandez. So just these little moments went perfectly for Argentina in those 10 minutes and they capitalized 100%. And to be fair, we talked a lot about penalties this tournament. The Messi penalty is fantastic. It's a great penalty.
You said about like the moments also, and like I mentioned earlier, like when you know it's not your day. Like, have you ever seen Modric cop a ball to the face?
Oh no, that was tragic. I hated that.
I know, like, and it was just like the deflected ball because of his. I think it was a shot. It's like like I said, you know it's not your day when like probably the best midfielder ever is on the end of something like that. Like that kind of bad luck. It's like far out. Like, yeah, it just. Yeah, we didn't get the rub that day, unfortunately.
Is he going to be there for the Euros? What's your feeling?
I don't know. He'll be 39. I think he might finish with the Nations League.
Yeah, I was going to say that he'll be there for the Nations League.
Because that's next year.
He's played a part in getting him there. So
I don't know about the Euros.
Like he'll want to finish that.
I feel like he could play the Euros.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe just give like another, like spend one more tournament with a lot of these young players, especially the midfield young players that are meant to be bled through, because Kovacic is like 30, so he might have one more World Cup in him. Brozovic, I think, as well, is like 31, so he's going to have another Euros in him, but I don't know about another World Cup. Maybe, I don't know. Actually, I need to check Brozovic. I'm pretty sure he's on the wrong side of 30. So yeah, like that midfield 3, like yes, we have Meyer coming through. I want to see him move on to a bigger club. I think he's at Rennes now. There's no offense to Rennes, but I want to see him at a bigger club, and not just like be at a bigger club, but actually be like a starter for a bigger club and make his mark. I think Sukic is there as well. I can't remember who he plays against. And Juranovic is actually 27, so he's going to be 31 for the next World Cup. But we have Stanisic, who plays at Bayern. I think he's like 19 or 20. So there's a lot of young guys coming through, but we need to I don't.
No Luka Modric's.
No, not as of yet.
Hey, to be fair, Luka Modric was a slow burn. We didn't know he'd become this guy.
No.
Even when he was at Tottenham.
I'm really, and this wasn't pre-planned, folks, but I'm really glad you brought that up because just like yesterday, the other day, I was thinking about Croatian players, young players who like made me like sit on the edge of my seat and say, wow, like when I first saw them play for Croatia, and Modric was one of them. I think he came on in the 2006 World Cup. I think that was the first time I saw him. I'm not sure if he came on against Australia or against, I can't remember, or Italy. I think we faced Italy. Yeah. I can't remember which one, but he came on for like 15, 20 minutes and like, I was like, wow. Like this.
You didn't play Italy. Sorry. Because we played Italy in the next round, so they weren't in the same. Australia played Italy, so they weren't in the same group.
Who was in that group?
Japan was. Japan and Brazil.
Brazil, yes. I think it was Australia then, but like, yeah, he came on for like 15, 20 minutes, and I was just like, wow, like this guy is like, he was energetic. His touch was fantastic even back then. As like, I think it was like what, that was 2006. What are we? That's 16 years. So he was 21 then. And the other player, and I mentioned him not on the pod before, but I mentioned him to you before, was Piazza. I think I first saw him at the Euros in 2016, and like he made a couple of cameos off the bench, and I was like, wow, like this guy.
What happened to him?
I think he had a really bad ACL injury when he he moved to Juve, and then like. But that was the only other player where I was like, just like, wow, because like he's actually an attacker that we need right now. Like
100%.
Where he dribbles at pace directly at players. He has trickery. Like he is exactly what we lack right now. I know we lack a striker as well, but like in terms of a winger, like he would have been perfect. And it just sucks that like he had such a horrific injury. And I don't even know where he is right now. Probably an easy Google search will fix that one.
Do Juve have a winger curse? That's something maybe we should explore.
Deep dive. Chiesa is actually like probably similar in terms of characteristics, but I say Piazza has a higher technical ability. But in terms of like their tenaciousness, I guess, or the way they drive with the ball at players, they're probably similar in that manner. But yeah, like. He's the only other player besides Modric that like made me go, wow. Hopefully there'll be a player in the next couple of years.
On a side note to your side note, just to contextualize what we're seeing at the moment, in that 06 World Cup, this is Luka Modric we're talking about, arguably the greatest midfielder of all time. And 06, you say he was 21.
If he's 37
and he was still... Yeah, and he was still obscure back then. Was he still at Dinamo? Did he start at Dinamo?
Yeah, he was at Dinamo, yeah.
Before he went to Tottenham.
I'm pretty sure he was at Dinamo. He wasn't, but he might have been...
Hajduk?
No, he might have been in Bosnia, because I think Dinamo had him, but they lent him out to a Bosnian team. But anyway, I'm pretty sure he returned. Anyway,
that's the sidetrack to my side. But yeah, he was 21 at the time. Think of the midfield talent we have right now in the game. We have Jude Bellingham, who's 19, already playing at Dortmund, already captaining Dortmund at times. Tchouaméni, already at Real Madrid, into a World Cup final, 22 years old. Pedri, 20 years old at Barcelona. Musiala, 19 years old, at Bayern Munich. Who am I missing? Enzo Fernandez, already at Benfica,
Gavi,
22.
But you don't really rate Gavi.
Gavi, 18. No, I do. He's maybe not in this class, but Enzo is maybe a little bit off as well. But he's proving that he's that good anyway. And who else? I think that's all. Would you put
this isn't my Arsenal hat, but would you put Ødegaard in there?
Well, how old's Ødegaard? 22, 23?
23, I think.
There you go. Yeah, definitely put it. He's playing he's captain of Arsenal. Look at all these young players who are already playing at the biggest clubs who are this age. Like, this generation is unbelievable in terms of how young they are and how they're already playing on the highest stage in football. It's insane. Like, the way it used to work 10 years ago, you'd have to work your way up at, like, a Fiorentina or, like, a team like that, a Bilbao or something like that. Maybe Bilbao's a bad example for the Basque policy, but... And then you'd maybe get your move at like 24, 25. And then you'd have to work your way into the first team of that big club. And then maybe at 26, 27, that's when you really look the biz. But now they're doing it at such a young age for the biggest clubs. It's insane.
I wonder if that's a good thing or not, because not only that, like we will get onto France really quickly, but hopefully you don't then get sidetracked by my point on this one. But the fact that these guys are 18, 19, 20, they don't yet have the bodies of men. So especially in the Premier League, if they're going up against these challenges against men, 28, 30, 34-year-old men, can they have the longevity that these other players had when they were coming through the ranks and they started playing at these bigger teams when they were 24, 25, 26? So
yeah, one point off the top of my head, I can see your argument against. The argument for would be it might actually be beneficial to play at the elite level from a younger age, because I feel like there's more protection in the game the higher you go for attacking players with that sort of skill set. So I feel like you're more likely to get refereed more favorably
unless
if you're an attacking player at the higher. Unless you're Saka, apparently. But no, that's why I said we'll see, because over the next 10 years we'll see the durability of these guys. Will they be able to do it season on season from such a young age? It's going to be fascinating to watch. But yeah, I don't ever think we've had a time like this, to be fair. I might be
You forgot Phil Foden, unless you're considering him like a winger.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm going to say. I didn't even get into the attacking talent or the defensive talent. So
Alvarez is 19.
Central midfielders.
Alvarez is 19, and did he score 2 goals? Yeah, he scored 2 goals, right? Yeah. But I think he has he's
up to 4. I think.
He has 4 in the tournament already. So then he's only 19. The Haaland is only 21.
21, 22, Mbappe 23.
Yeah, we didn't even mention these guys, like you said, the strikers.
I know. Vinny 20, 23 or something.
There you go. Martinelli as well.
We can keep
going. All right, look. Damn, I wanted to transition into the France one. You said that Argentina are getting a lot of the flack, whereas France are playing as poor or as disappointing or as non-exciting as Argentina. I wouldn't say Argentina are playing disappointing, but not as exciting. So maybe that's the best way to compare the two. I'd say that the reason why France are getting so much leeway is because of all the injuries. No Pogba, no Kante, no Nkunku, no Benzema. I swear there's another midfielder that I'm missing. I swear there's one more.
Probably.
I swear there was 5 that were injured. I know Varane was 50-50, but he's played every single game. But I swear there was a third midfielder in there. But regardless, I believe that might be the reason why they're getting leeway, because of all the injuries to these star players.
Well, we theorized on this once all the injuries started hitting France, and I think it was the preview pod into the World Cup, or maybe it was after the first game after they beat Australia 4-1. And I think we said, these injuries, it's clicking into place for France and for Deschamps, because he doesn't have to make any tough decisions now. He's got a starting 11. That's all he's got, because you see what comes off the bench or what has to replace the players who are already there. I think of Fofana, although Ibrahima Konate, shout out, he should be starting over Upamecano in the final. He was so much better than Upamecano's been in the last couple of games. And I think he saved France on a couple of occasions. And also, the other name you mentioned, Varane, shout out to him. He was the rock for France. He and Lloris, and I know Lloris has been much criticised on this pod, but Lloris has been somewhat of a rock for France over the last 2 games in particular, and Varane's been there every step of the way with him. They're sort of the cool, calmer heads there at the back who can give everyone confidence, because as much as it pains me to do this, but Theo Hernandez defensively has been a horror show. And then when you pair him next to Upamecano on the left-hand side of it, that is a dangerous flank. So Konate, I thought, just looked so much more solid. Oh, yeah. Yeah, for the wrong reasons, for sure. Oh man, yeah, I thought Kanate looked really solid in this game, and I think he should get the starting spot in the final. To be quite honest, especially given Bakata's track record for a mistake.
Well,
Although Kanate can make a mistake or two as well.
has Saliba played? Did he play in that?
Yeah, he hasn't. He hasn't played, man. It's
At
crazy.
all. He didn't even play in that third game. Of the group?
He played. I think he might have played in that Tunisia game.
I'm
but there's another young player. What's he? 20. Him and Guardiola.
Oh yeah. Oh man, Arsenal go for Guardiola.
Oh man, that would be the upgrade on Gabriel that we've been calling for.
Yeah. Mikel,
yeah,
you listening?
They've just got the starting 11. The injuries just clicked everything into place. There's no ego battle between Benzema and Mbappe. Everyone knows Mbappe will take the headlines, even though, Griezmann's been getting a lot of the headlines as well. And
did you say Benzema?
Griezmann.
Oh, because
between Benzema and Mbappe.
Because Benzema isn't there, so.
Yeah, exactly. So I just think it's played out that way in terms of team selection, but I also think the French should be copying a little bit more criticism, because I think if Argentina, in their game plan against Croatia, they sat back a little bit, and I thought they looked so much better in doing so. And you can quibble about the qualities of Croatia versus the qualities of Morocco, and to your plan B, just to go back to Croatia, Argentina, or put a ball on it, to your plan B, no plan B point. Well, what's Stalic meant to do with the hodgepodge of attacking options he has? I mean, they were uninspiring throughout the whole tournament. I thought they played one good game against Croatia, and the rest it was all
Canada.
Guts and Canada, sorry, and it was all guts and determination to get past it from there. But yeah, so. Just I've forgotten where I was. It all fell into place for France, and there's no battles. It's just play this way, and I don't know, but they just don't look convincing doing it, because that's what I was saying. Like, because Theo Hernandez on the left, it's a clear weakness, and Mbappe not tracking on the left. And look, Messi's what, 36, 35, however
35.
old he is. He's done all these things in the game. I can just about stomach him not running in a game. I can just about do it. Just there. Given how well he's played this World Cup as well. Mbappe, I'm struggling to stomach why he never does any defensive work. Like, do a little... And look, I've been Mbappe's number one fan on this pod. And Theo Hernandez. And I'm going in on both of them in this little France rant. Just do a little bit more work. I mean, what's running a few... And there's times where Mbappe... It really annoys me. Because there's times where the ball's around him and it's not quite under control of the opposition. If he just used a bit of that blistering pace to apply a counter press, he could force a mistake or win the ball and then be on the attack himself when the defense isn't set. Like, it's beneficial for him at times to do this defensive work, but he refuses. He doesn't have a bar of it. I will absolutely not run when the ball is not in our possession. It's a ridiculous attitude for a 23-year-old. It's one I'm definitely not on side with, especially when he could be even better if he just does it a little bit. I'm not even asking him to become a defensive workhorse. Just run a little bit when the ball's not in your possession. And protect Theo Hernandez as well, who God knows he needs it when he's 1v1 at the back.
Maybe he's saving that energy for those sprints.
Yeah, he is.
Those sprints that he makes, where he's already 5 meters behind the defender. He made Hakimi look slow.
I know what that. I was going to say
out.
That one where eventually Amrabat got the tackle in on him. How good was the sprint down the line to get there anyway?
Jeez, like he's lightning. Like,
yeah.
Oh my, wow. But with age, he's going to get slower.
He will. Yeah, he's going to have to do that Ronaldo evolution.
But probably not for another. Well, he's 23, so probably not for another 6-7 years. He's going to keep this pace for the next 6 years.
Yeah, I would say so, especially given the lack of miles he puts on defensively.
Yeah, that's true.
As I'm just ranting about.
But what did you think about this France-Morocco game? Because, like, you know what the immediate impression that I got was? Morocco are gonna be there. France are asking questions of Morocco. Show us what you can do when you have the ball. We know what you can do when you don't have the ball. Let's see you break us down instead of us break you down. And you know what? France getting a goal after 5 minutes or 6 minutes. I just thought, okay, this is like this. I think it's the first goal that they copped besides the own goal. But it's the first goal. I just like thought, okay, this, and it sort of did kill their confidence a little bit for like 10-15 minutes, and then they started to get back into the game. But then, and they had really good chances as well to get into it. But like you said, that defense, especially Lloris, I've never really questioned his shot stopping ability. It's just his footwork that's like his technical ability with his feet. That's the question.
And aerially.
Yeah.
Aerially, he doesn't fill me with confidence at times.
Yeah, but I guess also to the fact that he has Varane and Upamecano, I know you're not too hot on him, or Kanate, or a Saliba in front of him instead of an Eric Dyer or a Romero. Maybe that fills him with more confidence, so he can play a little bit more confidently as well. So that's one thing to note as well. But yeah, like I guess Morocco, they went out on their shield, which we expected them to. But yeah, like and even when they were asked by France, show us what you can do, they showed that they can create some pretty good chances, but they just didn't have the finishing ability in this game.
Yeah, I'd say decent chances definitely put pressure on at least, but yeah, in the early part of the game, to your point, I was probably not surprised by France's game plan, given how passive they've been in recent games. And the word I'd use and I've been using is disappointing. But yeah, it probably wasn't a surprise that game plan, especially when you get that bonus of the first goal, like you're saying.
Yeah.
And the game it kind of had an air of inevitability to me. I know I predicted a comfortable 3-0 and it didn't pan out that way, the actual game itself. But from the start, when France get that goal, it just kind of feels like Morocco have had a great run, but this is going to be a bridge too far. I felt like the commentary we got over here from Martin Tyler felt that way. I felt the game sort of felt that way a bit. But France got so passive that they just allowed Morocco back into the game. And I know they were creating chances on the counter in the first half, and they weren't ruthless, they weren't clinical. So I can't even praise them for that. But they got so passive and so deep in this game that they just... Oh, wait, before I go on, I got to shout out the Theo Hernandez finish for the goal as well. Because I criticised him, but my boy with a big goal in the World Cup semi-final, that acrobatic finish, it was a really nice finish, to be fair. Like, he had to keep that down.
But from 4 yards out.
Yeah, but he has to get his foot so high. Yeah. It's a mini Gareth Bale, That Gareth Bale one against Stoke is unbelievable, but... It's the mini. I don't think many left backs in the world could produce that finish. I've got to say, maybe not many footballers.
I thought of you when he scored. I was like, "Oh, Caleb's going to like this."
I was very happy. Although he ruined it with his defensive work later on in the game. But yeah, just had that air of inevitability. But France then this is why I'm saying to it, like, you're the world champions. Like, I know Morocco have been a great story, but you're better than Morocco, and you have this 1-goal lead. Just go and put them away. Just play. Like, play against them. You'll beat them. You're better than them. If the game becomes open, that's to your advantage. But they were just like, nah, let's sit back. Griezmann's almost going to play as a holding midfielder. Yeah. And it was so... And he did it well because Deschamps trusts him and he's a trustworthy character for the national team, as he's proven for the best part of a decade. I mean, Antoine Griezmann has been... fantastic. He deserves a lot of praise, and he's climbing up a list of all-time greats. With if he could get back-to-back World Cups and be the first or second best option in those teams each World Cup, it's pretty remarkable. Not many players could claim to do that. You'd have to go all the way back to that 58 and 62 Brazil team for a few players like that. So yeah, he's been remarkable. He was fantastic again in this game, especially given it's not in the way you'd expect it. Out of possession, but France, really disappointing. Sat back, and I think that's the point. Like, fair play to Morocco for putting that pressure on, but France just let the pressure come on in an unbelievable way. Yeah, they were sitting in their own third in the second half. In their own third. But I guess I do need to praise Deschamps because I was thinking it probably a minute before he did it. You've got to take Giroud off and you've got to bring on a more mobile striker. I thought it'd be Kolo Muani, who he later brought on to score the goal, but he starts with Thuram and pushes Mbappe in the middle, and that just changed. That allowed France to get out because before that they couldn't get out at all. Giroud was playing way too deep, and there was no chance that his skill set would allow him to get out. So fair play for seeing that, but you shouldn't be in that situation anyway. You should, once you get an early goal against Morocco, you should be going on against this Morocco. I mean, against quarterfinal and round of 16 Morocco, fair play, but this Morocco who are dinged up, who have to make a substitution before halftime, who have to make a substitution at halftime, and you can visibly see some of their players just absolutely flagging. So I just think be better. Go and put this game away. Don't put this undue stress on you. And yeah, all the question marks of are Argentina actually that good? Well, are France actually that good? Because this game plan, I think on other days they could concede goals from those chances, and we could be talking about Morocco in the final here. And it's not because of their skill set, it's only because of their game plan. So I think they're a little bit lucky to be here, but like the quality-wise, I think they had more. But they are a little bit lucky. 2 deflected goals that go to players in the right places in the box, and other than that, a game plan that invites a lot of pressure. And on other days, that pressure could have told for Morocco. So again, bitterly disappointed in France. That's the theme. And they're in the World Cup final. What's going on?
Well, didn't they play a sort of similar way even 4 years ago, where they were more pragmatic? But because they had Pogba and Kante, they had more of the ball.
Way more solid.
Yeah,
they were way more solid in that World Cup for me. I didn't feel even, and like as much as I talk about Theo versus Lucas, even Lucas Hernandez, a left back who's a better defender than Theo, especially in a set structure like that. So they had the pieces. Even Pavard for that World Cup was pretty good, and there's a mystery for you. Like, I didn't even think he was awful in that Australia game, but obviously he was at fault for the goal. We've never seen him again in the World Cup after that. Crazy.
Did you mention it, or did I hear it on TalkSport or something, or on the punditry team here, where Dembele, Pavard fell out of favour with Deschamps for whatever reason, but also Dembele has sort of been in Deschamps' ear saying, I want Koundé behind me. I feel more comfortable with Koundé behind me, and their club teammates as well.
Yeah.
Even though Koundé, I think he's sometimes played right back for Barca, but he's a centre back. But even so, like,
well, he's been playing right back for Barca, to be fair,
and he's been playing right back for France too. Yeah. And look, that right hand side, like Dembele looks decent, and if he feels more comfortable, if you can get the best out of Dembele, and by putting Koundé behind him, then you're not losing much by not having Pavard there.
Yeah, I don't think it's a massive trade-off. Koundé, they're very similar skill sets as well. Pavard can play centre-back as well, so it was just a weird one, given that was the guy you trusted in 2018, and like it wasn't an egregious mistake against Australia, so
yeah,
just odd. But yeah, if that's the information that's come out, then that makes more sense now.
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the Morocco game? We'll touch on the third place game, and then we'll finish off with the final.
No, I don't really think so. I think, obviously, fair play to Morocco. I'm quite happy to not be seeing them in the final because as this game
you're an
told,
elitist.
I am an elitist. I think France have a higher ceiling, and that's after me going on a rant about how disappointing France have been. But yeah, obviously you've got the storylines that we'll touch on, but yeah, absolutely fair play to Morocco. I didn't think they were a sort of stymie underdog that you don't really want to see make the semi-finals. They gave something to the tournament. They dispatched flawed Spanish and Portuguese teams who I guess they just brought the flaws out in both of those teams, and fair play to them tactically, technically, physically, and emotionally. They were just great in this World Cup. So and being able to have a sort of home ground atmosphere all the way up to the semis was a nice bonus as well. And while you get the storyline that we get now for the final, you do miss the storyline of Argentina versus Moroccan fans in the final. That would have been a good battle
Yeah.
in the stands as it would have been on the pitch.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Because I want to know like how is the allocation done for the World Cup games? Because look, no offense to to Argentina or anything, but like they're not exactly a rich nation, but like they're almost making these stadiums home ground stadiums.
Yeah, definitely.
So like, where are all these fans coming from? and not but not to that, like how are they getting tickets? Because what's the allocation like? Is it just like a free for all? Is it?
Yeah, I have the feeling it's more of a free for all. You might get a little allocation, but most of the stadium to me feels like it's whoever can buy tickets.
So is it like
watch games? Because often in World Cups you get games where you see like other nations' shirts in the crowd and stuff. So yeah.
So is it like? Do you think it's maybe like 15% allocation to each team, so that's 30%, and 70% free for all?
I wouldn't even.
I don't know. Maybe
judging by my eye, I wouldn't even say 15 each. I'd say maybe like 5 to 10 or something like that. So, because I know the Dutch only had a couple of thousand in that quarterfinal against Argentina.
Yeah. But anyway, enough about that. The third place game. Any thoughts on that? It's a rematch of the group game between the two. I don't know what to expect of it, like, because Morocco they've shown that they have this fighting nature, but it might be the same thing or a similar thing with the France game, where it's like they've just been depleted so much. Like Seiss went off after 20 minutes. Who knows whether he'll play at all? And then I'm not sure what other injuries they have. But like, how do you think that one will go down? And like, who's mentally more hit by the semi-final loss as well? That might be another factor.
I think Croatia might be more mentally hit, because I think they would have thought they had a bigger chance. Although the Moroccans were not short of self-belief during this tournament. You could see that in the way they played. But yeah, like we were saying, I think we thought that Croatia-Argentina was more of the 60-40, more closer to the 50-50 game out of the two ties. So I think they might be more mentally hit. What I was thinking, like, in my head was kind of, these two teams don't really lend themselves to an exciting, free-flowing sort of game, even when the stakes are virtually nothing. It's third place. Like, you want to win the game, you want to win third place, but really, like, you're thinking that we're not in the final right now. So, yeah, I don't know. You think of like the '06 World Cup where you had Germany made the semis, they lost to Italy, and then them against Portugal in that third place was able, I think, to be like a 3-2 game or something like that, because that's the way Germany played throughout the whole tournament. They played attacking football, and then they fell short when it got to that semi-final stage. Whereas these two teams, yeah, Morocco, they've been all right to watch, and Croatia have been good to watch, mainly for Modric for me, and Guardiola as well. But yeah, I think like Croatia don't have any attackers, so where's the excitement we're really going to see going forward? And Morocco, while they've been a refreshing story, it's still Morocco. These players are still Hakim Ziyech, who for all intents and purposes is a Chelsea reject, and Nasiri, who's not lighting anything on fire at Sevilla, Boufal, who couldn't cut it in the Premier League. So I don't know, like in a game where it's not the stakes, do we see that drop off in intensity? And then we see these players kind of regress to where they are, or hopefully they'll treat us to something somewhat exciting. But yeah, I would say my hopes aren't that high for a great game in this.
Like, as a Croatian, I'm curious to see what Dalic does, whether he goes with pretty much the same 11 that we've seen, or does he say, okay, look, I'm gonna give some of these players that are going to be the next generation a run in this game. But then if Brozovic is out, which he might be, I don't know, maybe puts Mayer in there. Well, we've already seen him, but maybe put Sukic in there. I just want to get the team list up to see who who else is there to play that hasn't actually played minutes at all. So just give me a moment for that.
Big club managers will be hoping that they don't play their players in this third place game. Like, come on, especially Brozovic. I could only imagine what Simone Inzaghi would be like if he saw that Brozovic was on the team sheet.
Especially after coming off after 60 minutes against Argentina as well. All right, like for instance, Stanisic could play. He hasn't played any minutes yet. And this is his first World Cup. This is his first international tournament, so maybe give him some minutes. Edelic.
You got any young centre backs to put next to Guardiola?
Edelic.
Don't need to see Lovren again.
Edelic.
Yeah.
He can play. Who else? Schutterlo as well, instead like for Lovren. But yeah, you only really have Jakic and Sucic, which are probably two replacements for Modric and Kovacic. Like Sucic, Jakic, and Mayer are probably like the three replacements for Brozovic, Modric, and Kovacic. But in terms of attackers,
he might even start with all three. Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt he starts with all three. Maybe because like it's Modric's last World Cup. I doubt he plays. Well, he might just
bring Modric off the bench.
Maybe.
He'll probably. He'll take him off the pitch so he gets the standing ovation, which he deserves.
But like, there's like two or three players that haven't played any minutes that you could chuck in there, just to give them a run. But like in terms of attacking players, like there's actually no like young players of like 2021 in the attacking front. Like Petkovic, I think is 27, I think, or 26. I think Orsic is our age. He's 30. He might even be 31. Perisic is already 33, 34. But yeah, like there's no young, exciting forwards, which is a shame. Like maybe he could have brought someone to this tournament, at least one like 20-year-old attacker, to at least get some experience. Don't worry,
I could tell that there was no young attacking forwards when I watched Croatia. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, but I don't know. Let's see what he does. What the game plan is. Like obviously we're gonna put that loss behind us. We're going to win it. Because I think we're happy because like we're such a small nation, even though like football is like such a massive sport here. We're happy with like any achievements that our sports people get, whether it's at the Olympics or whatnot as well. Everything is any achievement is celebrated, whether it's bronze, silver, or gold. So it's like if we get the bronze, then that will be just as big of a welcome back as what it was when they got the silver 2 years ago. Oh no!
Yeah,
you froze for me. Actually, it'll probably be less of a welcome because it's during winter and it's like
good point.
A really bad cold front is happening like now it seems.
I've heard it's freezing over there, man.
Well, it snowed like 2 days ago.
Wow.
But yeah, like anyway, I know in England it's like -5 degrees and stuff. So like they're getting like really bad weather. Anyway, the final. Where do we begin? There was one place where I wanted to begin, and it's a narrative. Like there's actually so many narratives that we can start off with.
Yeah.
One narrative is I don't have the direct Mbappe quote, but do you remember a couple of months ago when he basically said that European teams are superior to South American teams?
Did he say that?
He said something along those lines. While you're talking about that, I'll try to find the quote.
Well, I need to hear the quote to talk more about that. But to be fair to him, he shouldn't say that because now he's put a target.
Oh, but you know what? You know what happened though? Like I think he said it before that finalissima game between Italy and and then Argentina goes on to win that. Yeah,
obviously. And that's I don't know. But yeah, I guess he's put a target. If he said something like that, he's put a target, and that's going to be bulletin board material to just put on all the Argentine players' lockers before the game if they even needed extra motivation, which I'm sure they don't. But I think the Argentinian players are the ones who I think if you gave them extra motivation, they'd take it. Whereas maybe some of those more professional, those European teams, as Mbappe says, they're more professional in what they're doing. But Argentina, I think, will fuel off anything that they can get. Yeah,
he said European football is more competitive than South American football.
No, well, I mean,
it depends on
he's
what
not
context.
Wrong, is he? Yeah. Especially at the club level.
At club level, 100%. But yeah, and he said that right before that game between Italy and Argentina.
And to be fair, for the last 20 years now, the World Cup. Well, we don't know if it's 20. We'll find out on the weekend. But the World Cup's been going to European nations ever since 2002. So I don't know if that's a coincidence. That might be the modernization and the way European teams do it. I don't know. Like it's a bigger societal thing, really, in terms of why European teams might be dominating now. In terms of what facilities they could get, what coaching they could get, what education they could give coaches, how they can disseminate that information. I think obviously South America is still somewhat lagging behind. Although I don't think South American football should be disrespected for its competitiveness because it is ultra competitive, but the level of it just isn't quite up to that European level because obviously Europe can attract the best talent. And on another side note, I know I'm full of them, but I've never understood why Premier League clubs don't go straight to South America for their talent. Why do they wait for the South American talent to go through Portugal or Spain or somewhere like that before they then buy them for like 60, 65 mil? Why don't you just go straight to the source? Everyone knows South America has the best players, especially players who are pretty built for playing in the Premier League, especially if you think of like Uruguay, Argentina. Players from there are definitely, and even Brazil with the physicality. I just don't understand why they don't tap into that from a younger age. It's a weird one for me, especially because the Brazilian league is quite strong at the moment. They've recently, like probably last 10 years, had a lot of money pumped in, and you can see that from the Libertadores finalists and winners each year. So I don't know. That's a little side note. I think Premier League clubs should cotton on to that. Maybe they are starting to cotton on to that given Brexit and leaving the EU. So now they have to find workarounds for that. But I think
Alvarez was the latest example, and also Arsenal did it as well. They signed Marquinhos, I think he's 18 or 19. Martinelli they signed as an 18-year-old. So some are doing it, but why more aren't doing it? It might be something to do with South American laws. Permits. No, but it might also be with the laws where like players they can't sign professional contracts outside of the country until they're 18. Maybe, I don't know. Whereas here,
well, we know Real 16. Madrid get all the teenagers though, all the best teenagers from Brazil.
I don't know, or maybe they just haven't set up the network there for whatever reason.
Or maybe they just know South Americans just don't like British weather. Yeah, they're just like, he's got to go to Portugal or Spain.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Mati said it a couple of pods ago where, like, basically every South American player's dream is to play for Real Madrid or Barcelona. If you have the choice between Man City, like Rafinha, like he had the choice between like Arsenal, Chelsea. I think there was one other club, but he chose Barcelona, who were like they're rebuilding, and then they're probably not going to win anything. I don't know. Maybe they win the league this year, but they're not going to. They're probably not. But they might not win anything for the next 2 or 3 years because they're in a different phase.
Yeah, definitely. You can see that throughout the history of transfers. For like you think of Phil Coutinho as well, going from Liverpool to Barcelona. It's all he ever dreamed of. So, but yeah, I think obviously he's put a target on his back and France's back. That'll be pinned up for the Argentines to see. It always leaves you open to looking a bit foolish.
He does the he does the Arteta before the match where he puts the tweet up on the board.
Nice kick about with the lads. Oh man, no, I think so. That's the storyline, the animosity. I think Argentina are able to build animosity with any country that they play. I think so. This is no exception against France, who obviously they played in the game of the tournament in 2018, or you could say that was the game of the tournament, but that was a completely different Argentina team and a pretty different France team. I think a much more solid looking France team, as we touched on earlier. So. I don't know. I went with France. I've been with France for so long, but the closer we get, and now that we're here, I look at the matchups. Um, I just think this might be it for Argentina. This might be Messi's World Cup. This might be Argentina's World Cup. I think they have less weaknesses than France, but I think France have a higher ceiling if they play to their potential. But we haven't seen it yet, and I think France were very lucky to come through England. I think they were a little bit lucky to come through Morocco, whereas I think Argentina, they weren't really lucky to come through any of their games in the knockout stage. Sure, they made the Australia game closer than it needed to be. Sure, they made the Dutch game closer than it needed to be. But I think if you look at the balance of those two games, I think they were the better team. I think they were somewhat cruising, and I think Argentina on the whole have been more impressive in this World Cup. But that's not to say that France don't take their moments in this game and make the most of them and win back-to-back World Cups. And that, for me, has been the big storyline the whole time. Beyond Mbappe's sort of individual storyline of his legacy, and it seems weird to say that as for a guy who's 23, but not many guys in the history of this competition and this sport will be able to boast 2 World Cup victories as one of the main guys for the team. And obviously the big storyline for me is this France team trying to emulate Brazil 58 and 62 and trying to go back-to-back, because that's the last time it's happened. And I guess you can somewhat point similarities between this France team 2018 and now to that Brazil team. I mean, I think the first instance you have obviously Mbappe versus Pele, those young teenagers coming through and making such a mark on the knockout stages of the tournament, the whole tournament as a whole. I think 18 you have like a hungrier team, maybe. I think a better team. I think Brazil 58 were a better team than 62, obviously because they were missing Pele at 62. But I think, yeah, that's the point. You're missing a few key players this time, but the core and the Griezmann, Lloris, Varane, sort of that sort of core is Giroud is the same as 2018. So it's definitely going to be a legitimate back-to-back win with just a few different pieces. But yeah, the more I think about it, just the more I think Argentina are going to spoil that party and fulfill that other narrative, which is Messi's destiny, as well as finally bringing the World Cup back to South America, because it's been 20 years.
Well, my main question is, well, one of the questions is, who's easier to defend or to stop, Messi or Mbappe? Because we know roughly how Argentina are going to set up and how they're going to play. Whereas like Mbappe, it just seems like no one can stop those runs that he makes. That's what. So, and then on the other wing, you got Dembele, who's similar but less imposing. But he can offer a similar threat.
I've been disappointed. One of the things I've been disappointed with France in is they are too obvious when they go to Mbappe at times. I think, and Mbappe is too obvious in what he wants to do. I don't think it always needs to be look for Mbappe in behind, and Mbappe doesn't always need to be going behind all the time and just try and kill people all the time, like in the way he does. I think they can build up more attacks and have more control of the ball, but they just haven't really done. It's like, I think I called it a bit Sunday League after the game against Poland. It's a little bit Sunday League in the way they try to use Mbappe, and I think furthermore they should use Mbappe across the whole front line. I think in that game against Morocco, it clearly wasn't working on the left-hand side for Mbappe. Just put him on the right. Dembele can play either side. Mbappe can play either side. Let's not forget, Mbappe actually played on the right in 2018 for that French World Cup winning team. So he can score goals from there. He can make his runs from there. I just don't understand why they don't try that sometimes for something different. So I think I would hesitate to say Messi's harder to stop this tournament because of the unpredictability, which directly goes against what Mbappe I think has been this tournament. Whereas Messi could just pop up anywhere. He's going to survey the game, and he's not even going to have to look at the game, because if he's watched anything of France so far, he'll know going into the game it's the left hand side. The left hand side of defense is where I want to be. That's where I want to. Well, the left hand side for France. His right hand side, which is perfect because he likes to play in those pockets anyway. I actually think, and I'm getting obvious with what the matchups are going to be, and this is the big reason why I've been disappointed with France, to be quite honest. I think it's going to come down to, it's not really a matchup of Theo Hernandez versus Messi, but it kind of is, because I think Messi will drift there and want to pick up the space. Can Theo Hernandez make him pay for not wanting to track, or can he push the pole back to a place where Messi's more isolated when he gets the ball, and then France maybe could deal with that in that way, because DePaul will do the running for Messi. It will be interesting, because do you really want to defend with Canate and Hernandez against Messi in those spaces? I don't know. Maybe you do. Who's the runner who's hurting you? Molina's done all right so far this World Cup. Is he really going to hurt you in a World Cup final? I guess he hurt the Dutch in the quarters. I don't know. That side of the pitch is shaping up to be really fascinating. And obviously, I think if we can point to any weakness in Argentina, I think it's the fullbacks. The fullbacks are probably not a weakness, but the weakest points of the team. So to your Mbappe point as well, is Molina able to be a threat going forward if he's constantly worrying about Mbappe behind, or are Argentina going to be bold with it and maybe put Romero? They might, you know what Argentina might do? They might go with a back five like they did against the Netherlands, and look to clog up those channels, and it will be a joint effort between Molina and Christian Romero to deal with Mbappe on that side, and hopefully cover enough pitch, but allow Molina to maybe get forward and make those runs that he's been making for Messi. Also, I think it was for the second goal for Argentina against Croatia. The Molina run through the middle of the pitch is absolutely fantastic. He takes away a defender for all that pressure to be put on by Alvarez. Molina, who I've not rated at all at Atletico, and that's another theme with this Argentina team. All these club players who aren't very good for their clubs, they turn into different people when they play for Argentina and play for Messi. But yeah, that Molina run, I think he is another instance where he's been pivotal for a goal, and he's become like, you might put him as like the fifth or sixth most important player for Argentina in this run. He's kind of been that important with what he offers. So yeah, to that point, I think Scaloni might want to look for a way to allow him to make those runs while being solid enough to deal with Mbappe, probably through a back five. So that's probably my pick, what I see happening, a back five to deal with Mbappe, and to release Molina further up forward to get more support to Messi, and maybe expose that left-hand side of the French defence.
The other question I have is, do you think this is the first proper test for that Argentina backline this whole tournament? Because if you look at Netherlands, Croatia, we don't need to talk about. If you look at Netherlands as well, they didn't really offer, throughout the game at least, they didn't really offer threats. Australia, obviously, don't need to talk about that. Then in their group games as well, Lewandowski was nowhere. So like, is this actually the first true threat? Like, and I mentioned it when France faced Morocco. This was the first true test that they're going to get as well, with a big man up front through the center with Giroud, and two insanely quick wingers with Mbappe and Dembele. So is this the first true test?
No, that's a really good point. And yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head that it is their first true test in terms of the attacking options. And it'll be interesting to see if France play that ultra passive style again, like they did in the semi-final against Morocco. Then it will be interesting to see how Argentina deal with that, because they'll be asked to play with the ball, and they can play with the ball. They're good. They're good technicians for the most part throughout the team. But are they going to trust 22-year-old Enzo Fernandez in the holding role to shield those defenders, and to make sure that everyone's in structure in case the ball breaks down, because that's obviously going to be France's game plan. If they do sit deep, they're going to want to hit on the counter attack, and it's going to be vital that Argentina have an organising and a shielding presence in that midfield to make sure Argentina are always in shape behind the ball and not allow France to get out. Or will Argentina do what they did in the semi-final and try to play a passive style like they did against Croatia? So I think that would serve them better to negate the space. But at the same time, they don't have anything that really threats you on the counter-attack. So I think it'll be a better tactic, because then you're asking France to make the play, and they haven't made the play very well in this World Cup. So then you're asking... Then it comes down to Griezmann if France are the team who are controlling territory and Argentina are sitting back. It comes down to what Griezmann create. To a lesser degree, Tchouaméni as well, who unlocks the quarterfinal against England with that goal. But it won't be so much that 1v1 ability out wide with Dembele and Mbappe, I don't think. It'll be more unpicking. Maybe it'll be getting crosses into Giroud, and we saw Argentina not deal with the two big men of the Dutch very well in that quarterfinal tie. So there's that test as well. It's fascinating. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't really call what I do think Argentina will go with a back five, but I can't call what the game plan will be beyond that from either team. Whether we might get a stalemate where both kind of want to be passive, and then I think in that semi-final against Morocco, I think Morocco's naivety showed a little bit in that they obliged France by saying, all right, we'll play with the ball. It's like, well, maybe they should have just started pumping balls into the middle of France and then playing with energy and counter-pressing more than trying to unlock their defence. So yeah, we might get it where there's two more experienced teams who aren't going to engage if the other team says you have the ball. It's like, well, we don't really want the ball, so you have the ball. It's like, we might get a stalemate. That's how finals normally pan out. I think they're such cagey, nervy affairs. I think we'll see that again for what's on the line, and that's I hate to harp back to it, but that's another reason why I'm disappointed with this France team. They already have a World Cup in the bag, and they have all these injuries that they can just use an excuse. Yet they're still playing this dogged, pragmatic style. Just unlock them a little bit. I want to see Theo Hernandez play as he can play as a creator. I don't want to see him as a left back. He's a footballer who masquerades as a left back, but he's not really a left back.
You know what? Also, this would be the most insanely, I don't know, cheeky tactic that Deschamps has pulled off, and it's similar to how I spoke about the term meta coming from esports, but basically there's in a lot of these finals, a lot of these teams, because they're playing rounds rather than they're playing a full game, but a full game is consistent of rounds. They basically hide their tactics, especially they hide that if they know that they're the more superior team and they're going to get into the semis or the finals, they're like, okay, for the quarters, we're going to show this stuff so that we can save this certain tactic or this certain play for the next game, which is going to be against the more difficult opposition. So do you think that maybe France is doing that? But from one perspective, I don't think it is, because they faced England, they had a chance to put them to the sword, and we both agree that England were the more superior team, I guess, over the 90 minutes. So do you think maybe Deschamps is hiding a secret tactic or secret formula for the final against Argentina?
I love that, because I've actually been thinking that at various points during the tournament. I think the example in the case in point is Portugal for me, even though they got knocked out. But once they got to the knockout stage, they came out with a completely different game plan to what we ever thought Fernando Santos could do in that 6-1 win against Switzerland. So I know the Swiss hated that as well. But as well, to your point, I think it would be beneficial for France as well. Or there is a pro to playing a more aggressive, more vertical, up and down battle, a more open game. Because we saw with Saudi Arabia in the first game that Argentina don't like it when a team gets in their face. I know on another day they could have won that game, but the fact is Saudi Arabia, through their tactics, brought it to a point where they were able to actually win the game. They put themselves in a position to win the game, and they capitalized on it. But yeah, I think the French would be missing a trick if they at least didn't do it in spurts of getting into pressing high on Argentina and getting into their faces, because I think Argentina are a team who like to that meta point, play that horizontal style where they're controlling the play slowly through the thirds. Even you could even break the pitch down into less than that in the way they keep the ball and control it like that, unless you get Enzo Fernandez on the ball who looks to go forward. But he's really the only player in that midfield who has a real desire to play the ball forward, because Alexis McAllister he likes to keep it neat and tidy. If Paredes starts, he just keeps it neat and tidy. DePaul, I wouldn't use neat and tidy for a DePaul performance, but he does all the running for Messi, and then if he gets the ball, he tries to just offload it to Messi. So yeah, they're all that type of player until you get obviously Enzo, who changes that tempo. But yeah, I think France would be missing a little trick if they didn't at least use it in spurts, if not from the very start. That would. I would take my criticisms back for France if they were just rope-a-doping us the whole time, and then in the final they pull out their masterpiece, the thing that's going to be like shown in the Louvre. This is the World Cup final performance.
Yeah, until someone throws paint or on it or something. No, but to your point though, do you think that maybe the secret weapon is Mbappe actually pressing?
Oh my God, that's been the secret weapon for like the whole knockout.
Imagine that's it. Imagine
that would be awesome. That would be awesome. I hope it is, because I think we can unlock we can unlock the best version of Mbappe right now, given his age, and like he should be willing to do that. Like, because as he gets older, you don't want him pressing as much. But right now, he's 23. He could do all the work and be effective going forward. So if he chose to do it, and look, to be fair, if he's not going to do it now, he's never going to do it. This is the World Cup final, okay? This is your chance to be a back-to-back World Cup winner. If you're not going to do it now, I don't know when you'll do it. So if it's not for the whole game, which I don't think it will be, hopefully he works for spurts, and hopefully it kind of works so it shows him, look, if you do a little bit of defensive work, you can be even better than what you are right now.
Well, Kylian does have to, he's equal with Messi, both on 5 goals. So if he wants that golden boot...
Yeah, the golden boot.
And he's probably in line for player of the tournament, although I assume the way Messi's got like 4 man of the match awards, I assume that Messi's going to pick up the golden ball as well, even if he loses.
I think if Mbappe scores 1 or 2, if it's 1 and it's the winner, or if it's 2 and they win, he could probably snatch it.
Yeah, but Messi got it in 2014 on the losing team. Modric got it in 2018 on the losing team.
I was actually also thinking that might work against Messi, because, hey, we've already given it to a losing player before. Are we really going to give it to 3 losing players in a row when this guy's got like 6 or 7 goals for the tournament?
True.
And Griezmann would also be a shout, but I think that's the indie pick, and I don't think they'll go that way.
Yeah. Just on the Mbappe not running point, before we wrap it all up, it sort of reminds me of I think it was a Carl Barron joke. We were talking about pigeons and how, like, have you noticed how pigeons, they don't, like, when they're on the road, in the middle of the road, instead of flying off when you're coming at them with the car, they run. They're like, oh shit, and then they start running really quickly instead of just flying off. Like is it really quicker to run for a pigeon? And then he said, like, maybe they have, like, for their lifetime, they have a set amount of, like, flaps that they can do.
Yeah, the odometer.
So they need to actually save the flaps. So, like, shit, I'm not wasting flaps on this little, like, avoiding this car. So, like, maybe Mbappe is like that. He's like, he has a set amount of, like, run in his legs, and that's why he's walking. That's why, as a 23-year-old, he's walking so much.
In 10 years' time, we're going to have to come on the pod and talk about and discuss this theory again. Because if Mbappe's still sprinting at that age and that pace, it's like, you know what? It was probably right for him to walk when he was 23.
Yeah, maybe. And you can say a similar thing for Messi as well.
Yeah.
So,
I think so. He started walking pretty early, to be fair, as well.
Yeah, that I think, like, once he started playing that false 9, he started to walk less and less, or more and more. I mean, like, run less and less, at least off the ball. Caleb, anything else to add? Oh, actually, for the people that like a cheeky bet, who wins? Who wins the golden ball? For you, who wins the golden shoe? Who wins the golden gloves? And who wins the World Cup and by how much?
Well, Golden Glove isn't Golden Glove for clean sheets, or do they award it to best?
I don't know. I don't know if
goalkeeper
it's
of the
clean
tournament?
sheets or if it's best goalkeeper at the tournament. It might be for clean sheets because didn't Courtois win it for the last one?
Yeah, I think it might be clean sheets. I think.
Yeah.
We'd have to research that. But in terms of betting, I don't know because I need to have the odds because like I could predict who might win it, but they might have terrible odds. Like Messi, for example, for the Golden Ball. I think that's fairly safe. That's the way I'd go, given the 4-man of the match awards. But I imagine his odds are terrible. Golden Ball, that's an interesting one because we actually do have the battle for the Golden Ball going on.
The golden shoe.
Golden shoe, sorry.
And Alvarez and Giroud are on 4, right behind him.
I was gonna say Alvarez. I hadn't thought of Giroud, but yeah, I was gonna say Alvarez might be the best longer odds guy to win that if he pops up with two in this game. I don't know how they pay it out if the golden shoe is shared. What's the other one?
With the golden shoe though, I think if it's a tie, assists go is the separator or the tiebreaker, and Messi has 3 assists, Mbappe has 2.
Yeah, so they're close even in that. That's going to be a fascinating one to see, and if it has bearing on the ball as well, does the shoe have bearing on the ball? That might be interesting. Was there any other categories? Am I missing that?
I don't
say young player or something.
I don't know. I think young player of the tournament is a thing.
Yeah, I think that might go to Guardiola. unless
Yeah.
Mbappe still qualifies for young player of the tournament.
Technically, he probably does, but I think it might go to Guardiola. But it depends if they secure 3rd. I'd say it 100% goes to Guardiola.
Yeah.
If they secure 4th, it might go to Alvarez.
Oh yeah, that's a good shout as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it might go to Alvarez.
Yeah,
that depends. Okay, so if Croatia secure 3rd and Argentina lose, then it goes to Guardiola. If Argentina win, I think it will go to Guardiola regardless of where Croatia finish. Especially if Alvarez gets a goal in the final as well, then I think it's going to go to Alvarez.
Enzo Fernandez is my cheeky little shout there as well. And if I was voting on it and he qualified, I might give it to him, to be quite honest. But
it's a good shout.
I kind of have. We'll finish with a little bit of club stuff if we're done with the World Cup stuff, just quickly.
Yeah.
Speaking of Enzo Fernandez, there's been a lot of stories circulating that Liverpool may have agreed a pre-contract agreement. I don't know how much I believe them until it's actually done. But I saw the figure at maybe 120 million to release him from the Benfica contract, which, like, I love Enzo Fernandez, but that's ridiculous, especially with the talk of we're going to sign Enzo Fernandez and Jude Bellingham. It's like, well, I don't think we are. If they'll cost about as much as each other. Yeah, Guardiola's the big thing for Guardiola was Chelsea. That's what I'm hearing. So maybe they'll do a Leipzig raid because they're already getting Nkunku. They might just raid them for Guardiola as well.
If it's true that he supports Liverpool and he said publicly, I think that he would like, if he goes to Premier League, he'd like to play for Liverpool. But then,
man, all these players wanting to play for Liverpool. This is nice.
But the thing is, Chelsea have the funds to actually release him because he signed an extension to 2027. So 5 years left on his contract. Like that's easily at 150 mil.
Yeah, like, what are we talking here, Liverpool? Are we talking we're going to spend like 400 million on 3 players this summer? Like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, if you get like a Saudi owner or someone from Kuwait or Qatar, I don't know, like, because like if FSG sells,
I don't know how that falls under financial fair play. Though. I don't know how we manage that one.
That would be interesting. Like, it depends who you'd sell and also how much shirt sales, but. You get, but like none of them are like a Ronaldo in terms of shirt sales because I think like if I remember correctly, I think like within the first few hours when he first signed for Real generated enough revenue from shirt sales that paid for his transfer, which was like 94 mil. So
That's mental.
yeah,
But yeah, and then I think I also read, and again, I think it's speculation. There might be a report, whatever. Rafael Leao, like I sort of predicted, Chelsea are very interested in
jeez,
him, so he
Chelsea,
would.
they want everyone.
Well, they need everyone. Their squad's not very good. But
Yeah.
like I said, if you're getting in Cuckoo, you need a more of a target point to play with him because he's more of a creator. So yeah, there's those little things. But like with the Enzo Fernandez news and obviously the Jude Bellingham news, I guess I wanted to ask if you were Liverpool, out of those two options, if let's say Bellingham's maybe like 10, 15 mil more than Enzo, like who would you choose to go for if you're Liverpool out of those two midfielders?
Probably Bellingham. I think he's
Yeah,
already further
I
along on the development scale,
maybe,
and
maybe. I
and he's already got like leadership qualities as well. So he could take the captaincy in a couple of years' time.
That's where I landed actually, and I think a fun segment we could do when we go back to clubs is create the perfect central midfielder out of all these young central midfielders we've just mentioned, out of all their characteristics. And off the top of my head, Bellingham would get the leadership
So some
characteristics for that perfect.
Frankenstein sort of
Yeah, some
mold.
Frankenstein perfect midfielder.
So
But yeah, I think I landed.
how do
Yeah,
we do it? Like left foot, right foot, brain, leadership, heart,
yeah, you could do it
speed,
that way. Yeah,
speed,
yeah,
strength.
speed. Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think I landed on Bellingham as well for the. It was more intangibles than actual their sort of playing ability. I think they're pretty similar, although Enzo is a bit older, so there's that as well. I think they're pretty similar, not maybe in what they do, but in their overall ability. If you gave them a FIFA rating, I think their FIFA ratings should be pretty similar to each other. But yeah, the intangibles of Bellingham really looking like he is a Liverpool supporter. I know he's come out and said that. Really having that click with Henderson, having those leadership abilities, and being English. I think all of these things sort of factor into probably going for Bellingham over Enzo. But look, honestly, I love them both. So if we were able to get either one, considering how weak our midfield is at the moment, that would be fantastic news. And then finally, the last thing was. And just sort of starting to bring us back to club football as we're only what 10 days away from the Premier League resuming on Boxing Day,
Yeah,
which is sad to say. But this is more a Champions League thing. The sort of the favouring of the big round of 16 tie between, or one of the big ones between Bayern and PSG. While we have all our question marks over PSG, recent occurrences of recent injuries for Bayern Munich, I think, have shifted that thing massively in PSG's favour. When you think Manuel Neuer broke his leg skiing, which is ridiculous for a
really.
professional. Yeah, he's out for the rest of the
Shit.
season. I'm surprised you haven't heard that one,
No,
but
I
yeah,
didn't.
skiing
No, I
after
haven't
the
heard it.
World Cup. He's not winning any friends, I would hesitate to say, in the Bayern
I reckon it
ranks.
was some German supporter that probably broke his legs. They were disappointed with like
Poor
how.
perform
Yeah,
gave him dodgy skis.
yeah.
Um, Lucas Hernandez, obviously, I think did his ACL in that game against Australia in the opening game, so he's out. And Sadio Mane, I believe, is out until I don't know. He's out for a while.
Really.
So yeah, I believe that was a point that was being made on the pod. I'd have to double check the Mane one, but I think it's serious. So if Bayern are without those three players, Lucas Hernandez give or take, but Neuer and Mane are huge. I think, but we do have the question marks of if Messi wins this World Cup, does he even come back and play for PSG? Neymar might have disappeared off the face of the planet after the quarterfinal. He might just be in a bunker with his sister or something. And
Oh,
Mbappe, I don't know. Mbappe, he should still be hungry given his age, but he's also had a deep run in this tournament. So psychologically, if they don't win it, how does he come back? This fascinating. That tie's going to be fascinating. But if all those players come back and they play like they did first half of the season, Bayern are in big trouble because they've lost some key players recently.
yeah, and they were sort of stumbling as well.
Well, they were pretty strong just before the
They
World
they
Cup
started
break. They
strong,
started killing
stumbled, and then
teams.
they started killing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know, it'll be interesting.
But
Like the Mane one, especially. I want to find out about that because apparently, like he could have made the World Cup, and then it turned out that it was more serious. Like the witch doctors couldn't do their thing. So maybe by February he can recover, but who knows? Maybe, like you said, it might be something more serious. But yeah, the Neuer one is
madness.
That one's madness. Any other news on the club front?
No, I'm all out for that. So we'll just do a little section at the end of the next pod. Starting gear back.
Did you see Ronaldo he was training at Real Madrid but by himself? So there might be something there where he signs for Real on a free, maybe.
Maybe, hopefully they drop Benzema for him for that Champions League tie, and those Liverpool defenders get to play Ronaldo instead of Benzema. Fingers crossed.
I don't know. That could be interesting but maybe because like his kids grew up in obviously while he was at Madrid, so he has the family home there. So,
well, Real Madrid don't have very good backup options.
They don't.
Striker, so
yeah,
I don't know. It might be something to look at, but as long as he knows you're a backup, all right, you're not here to start.
I'd say Ancelotti is a much better man manager than Ten Hag, and he would make everything clear from the very beginning of how he would use him.
I hope so.
I don't expect any miscommunication between Ronaldo and Ancelotti compared to Ten Hag.
Yeah, but sometimes Ronaldo's self-delusion gets in the way and it appears as miscommunication.
Yeah, probably. But I don't know. Once you see that eyebrow raised, how can you say no? How can you argue with that? Caleb, it's been a pleasure. Who's your pick for the final? You didn't even say. I think you may have alluded, but you didn't pick.
Look, I've been with France from the start. I'm not getting off. So it's France, but it's just feeling more and more like it. It might be Argentina. So I'm not saying this with any chest.
Would you say it's written in the stars?
It might be written in the stars. This is the one that feels the most written in the stars since that turn of phrase came out.
Yeah, well, with the penalty decisions that they're getting. It's not just Croatia. It's the Saudi Arabia one, the Poland one.
I love it. That's a perfect way to finish.
Anyway, may the best.
Hey, wait,
team...
you didn't. What's your pick?
I don't know. Like I've seen some behavior by the Argentines that has sort of made me not like them. So yeah, like and as much as I don't like the French as well, because they've ruined our World Cup glory twice, in '98 and in 2018. But moving all that aside, I don't know. I just think that Mbappe right now is a little bit more unstoppable based on his physical qualities, and obviously has the skill as well. I'm like I said in our analysis, this could be the first test for the Argentine defense, the first big test. So yeah, I'm not sure they can deal with that.
We're both going for France. All right, we'll both die on that sword.
Yeah. I'm not supporting anyone, but my expectation is that France wins.
You'll just be watching it full of bitterness. The last two World Cups, these two nations have ruined our chances.
I'm as a neutral going into it. I'm hoping that it's similar to their meeting in 2018, where it's like a 4-3 banger. So
that would be good. Yeah. No, if I'm supporting anything, it's France taking the handbrake off, and we get maybe a good game.
Yeah, like Tiff always asks me, like when I'm watching games like that Arsenal isn't playing, for instance, or whoever, she's like, "Oh, who are you going for?" I'm like, my Croatian brain was going now. What I say to her, I'm supporting goals. So that's what I want to see. Like I'm supporting goals. Like I just want to see goals. That's it. So
it's like if anyone follows golf, it's just like
You're
Like,
supporting holes.
who are you rooting? Yeah, who are you rooting for or rooting against? It's like, no, you just support good golf.
Is golf actually good though?
Hey,
To
golf is
watch,
good. I won't have that.
to
Yeah, golf
watch.
is good to watch. You got to understand the nuances, but
Eh,
it's good like Sunday afternoon material, just chilling, maybe nap through the middle holes, and then when you get to the penultimate holes, the tension is great. I love it.
I don't know. I'd rather listen to grass grow, but I guess watching golf, you can listen to grass grow. And on that note, guys, thanks for coming, and bye for now.